What's up, guys? It's Saiyan here, coming at you with part 3 of the Deathworld Cycle program mini-series. Call it whatever you want. Either way, we're about to open and search for the truth tonight. So this one is the 4th Warpack that came out in Wave 3. The last officially printed, officially designed Necron Warlord is in here, so let's check it out. Alrighty, here we go as usual. There's a little tab there. You want to go in, get that open. Good stuff. And then we should have relatively easy access. As usual, keeping this little cover, and we got the story bit there, and of course explanation of the new rules, particularly Deep Strike, obviously. And here's the story. Not gonna go into that now. So as I mentioned, we're expecting a Necron Warlord in here, and we can already see the signature units, Augmented Warriors. So just making my way into the packaging. If you guys have checked the previous parts, then you already know that this is not an easy task, as much as it seems to completely throw me off at the beginning of the video. We normally do still make it though. So let's start with the Warlord. Illuminator, well, Illuminator Zaras, but if I had to spell this, I would call him Illuminator Sarash, because SZ in Hungarian is actually a S. Regardless, it's a 1/8 unit, starts with 7 cards, 6 resources, and after you remove any amount of damage from a Necron army unit you control, you gain 1 resource. And so the signature units, the Augmented Warriors, they come down for 2 as a 2/4, but they come down with 2 damage counters, 2 unpreventable damage. So it's kind of like a good little way to start to generate extra cash. When you get these guys down, you don't actually have to wait for your opponent to attack into them. But yes, you do need to obviously be able to heal them. Now there's many Necron cards that allow us to heal our guys. Let's check out the event, the signature event we got here. It's called the Vivisector, and basically allows you to take a planet, target a planet even, remove 1 damage from each Necron unit you control at the targeted planet, and deal 1 damage to each non-Necron unit at the target planet. So this is really huge, because obviously if you got a bunch of just slightly damaged Necron units out there, if you have at least 3, then basically this is gonna be a deal 1 damage to each of your opponent's army units for free. If you got at least 3 guys that have some damage, you can actually get that 3 resource back that you spend on Vivisector. We also get the Dissection Chamber support card with a force reaction. After an army unit enters play, deal it 1 damage. This is really cool because obviously this is going to have an effect on our opponent's units as well. So whenever they bring anything into play, an army unit, that's going to come down with 1 damage. Now this is particularly amazing against all those weenies that used to be very much in the front lines to make sure that we get control over certain planet resources. Void Pirate, obviously, for example, out of many things. So this is a really good counter against those cards. And then finally, the attachment we get, the Eldritch Lance. It's a pretty cool attachment, actually. Attached to your Warlord, attached unit gets +1 attack, and you can exhaust this attachment to remove 1 damage from a Necron unit at this planet. Really cool because it gives, obviously, Zaraz an extra attack. Zaraz can't heal himself. Well, he can heal himself, obviously, but you don't get the benefit of it. But you can use the lance to heal Zaraz, or more importantly, use it to heal the Augmented Warriors. And this is obviously where we obviously have to mention Reanimation Protocol, which is a free heal 2 card for Necron. Not only free heal 2, but you can also generate an extra resource by using that card. And if you have the hold on, just trying to get the combos here. If you are using Harbinger of Eternity, you can do that 6 times basically. So really big move there, and you just keep your guys alive. I absolutely love Necron. Just a great faction. It does so many things. I really like it. I was really looking forward to get Zaraz and just look at building a deck around this guy. It's really cool. Check that out. How cool is that? Okay, into the rest of the cards from this Warpack. We're starting with the Space Marines, and we have a Dark Angels Deathwing Terminators, an elite unit, costs 5, but you can deep strike it for 3. With a reaction after you deep strike this unit, it cannot be targeted by enemy card effects until the end of the first combat round, and it comes down with 2 hammers. It's a 4/5 unit. I think it's really good for what it does. Particularly getting cheap elite units is always really good. I absolutely love that about Wave 3. Then we get Repent, an event card 2-cost action. Each player exhausts a unit he controls with the highest printed cost among units he controls. Then each unit exhausted by this effect deals X damage, where X is its attack value to the other player's unit exhausted by this effect. So it's kind of like it can be a really high damage output event. You just need to have the right unit in play, of course, be able to exhaust it. So it can be good for like some particular unit to be sort of sniped out the way that has some other means of protection. This can be actually pretty useful for that particular purpose. Moving on to Astra Mediterrane, we got Engine Seer Mechanic, a Scolder, 3-cost, 1 hammer, 1/6, really big butt. And reaction after a vehicle unit you control at this planet is assigned damage. Exhaust this unit to prevent up to 2 of that damage. Goes into many decks. It's a common unit, so you're not really going to have a problem with including this in your Astra Militarum decks, or obviously it can work really well in Orc decks, and it can work really well in Space Marine decks too, particularly to protect, obviously, those high investment vehicles, those elite vehicles. And we got 3 copies of Griffin and Escort. There you go. Immediately the unit that you can protect with the Engine Seer Mechanic. No War Gear attachments, reaction. hold on. After using enters play, put 2 guardsman token into play at this planet. So that's really cool for a 4 cost 2/4 with 2 hammers, but actually bring out 2 guardsman tokens straight to the planet as well. That's pretty cool. And just more vehicles for Astra Mediterrane, which we do know that likes to get a lot of different vehicles. Here is an attachment. Now this guy on the image looks just like Star-Lord with his mask on, but it's not. It's a hotshot las pistol attached to an army unit to give it +2 attack, and damage cannot be removed from this unit at the same planet as attached unit. Oh, from any units. Oh, that's cool. That goes really well against the Zaras deck there. That you're basically stopping your opponent from healing their units. That's pretty cool. I like that. Then we got the Orc faction, Blood Axe Strategist, 3 cost, 2 hammer, 2/4 unit, which is already reasonably good. And we get a reaction after an Orc unit you control at this planet resolves an attack. Move it to an adjacent planet or your HQ. So that can be really good for like hidden run actions, particularly if you have like a unit that doesn't have too much HP left. You can just go ahead and mix all your. If you can get in like for one big attack, it can be really cool to spread your units around, move them away so they don't go back to the HQ. Or if you do want them to go back to your HQ, then obviously this guy will make sure that you can do that. I can see some drawbacks to that as well, but generally not a bad looking card. It just needs some experimentation. And we get Eden Base, location for 1. Each card you control in reserve is treated as a 2 attack, 2 HP Orc army unit during the combat phase. That's great. Can go into Chaos, can go into Orc, can go into Imperial Guard, and all your Deep Strike units will have a secondary function, which is really cool because you don't have to pay the money if you don't have it to Deep Strike them. Moving on to Chaos, we get a 4 cost 2/3 1 hammer Noise Marines Warband. You can Deep Strike it for 2 and it has area effect 1. Nice, straightforward. Area effect is always good, and it can be a nice little surprise. Not a very impactful card though on first glance, but I'm sure there's some reason there, some balancing stuff. And we get Ominous Wind, 2 cost event for Chaos again. Action, draw X cards. X is the highest printed cost among units you control. Then discard 4 cards from your hand. Oh wow. So this can be really good for Dark Eldar. This can be really good for Orcs, obviously. Really, really good for Chaos. Particularly with Chaos being able to just churn out really cheap demons with all the cultists. And obviously STC Fragment. You can basically make those demons come out. 5 cost demons you can technically play for free if you can sacrifice a cultist and a splintered acolyte, or maybe 1 or 2 costs. So you get like a really high printed cost card out there. As long as you draw at least 5 cards, then you're not losing anything. The card replaces itself. Anything above that, I think, is when this card starts to really shine. But obviously, with deep strike as well, some deep strike elite stuff, you can make this quite beneficial. Just because you can obviously play them even cheaper. On to Black Eldar, Dark Eldar, even Black Eldar. We have a 3 cost Masked Hunter, 1 hammer 2/3. It's a Beastmaster Warrior with a reaction. After you declare this unit as an attacker, move a Chimera token from an adjacent planet to this planet. So just some more support for Packmaster Kith. Always liking to see that. yeah, it's always nice to see some extra support for those OG Warlords. And we got 3 copies of Rundown, which is a Deep Strike event. Deep Strike for 0. Reaction: after you Deep Strike this event, target a non-elite army unit in your opponent's HQ and move the targeted unit to this planet. So basically, if something got routed or something got moved away, then you can bring it up to a particular planet where you can then tear it apart, just like the image suggests. This can be pretty powerful, but it can also be a bit of a numbo. Yeah, it can be good if you're moving about your chimeras, I suppose. Then it can be really good. Moving on to Eldar, and we see 3 copies of the Shrieking Exarch, which is a 5-cost elite unit with 2 hammers, and it's a 4/6. So that's pretty good. I mean, it's not the best stats, but it's pretty good. But it also has an additional cost to deploy this card. You need to discard 2 cards from your hand. I can see this being really good with certain factions, and here I'm particularly looking at Necron again, where Necron wants to see cards in the graveyard. This can actually be a very nice little bonus, but also the reaction on this card is amazing. After an army unit is destroyed at its planet, draw 1 card and deal 1 damage to a target enemy unit. So just if you want to use that with Zaras, you can obviously set your enslavement dial to Eldar, play this unit, get rid of 2 cards that you want to see in your discard a little bit more, stuff that fuels some of your other units, like Praetorian Ancient, for example, or another good one is the Lichguard Sentinel. They both benefit from having 6 or more units in your discard pile, so you can enable that with Shrieking Exarch. And then you can also draw extra cards off it and deal damage every time an army unit is destroyed. So that's pretty good in my book, particularly with the 2 command icons. I think, as always, Eldar has gotten a very useful, nice little tool to play with. Eldar cards never disappoint me. And we also get some attachments for Eldar, and this is the Ulthway Spirit Stone, which obviously these Spirit Stones are used to save their souls. So I believe it's Slanesh that would be consuming their souls. Anyway, attached to an Eldar army unit you control, and when attached unit would be destroyed, return it to your hand instead. So I can see benefits to this, but I just don't. Well, I suppose it's a free attachment, so it doesn't cost you anything. It can go to any decks. So if you're using it for, just getting more attachments on your cards, that can be usable. But really, for me, you can always use the. You got the support card, the. Gosh, I'm trying to think of its name. As an action, you can tap the support and return an army unit back to your hand. The Webway, yeah, this is the Webway. So it kind of does a very similar thing to this. One thing about this deck can be cool though is, of course, you can throw this onto an unit for free, and you don't risk losing them. It bounces back to your hand. So that's pretty cool. I can see a nice little combo here where you use something to damage your own stuff. For example, some Dark Eldar shenanigans can be used here, but with the Ulthway Spirit Stone, you bounce it back into your hand, and you get this constant recirculation that, well, not constant, but there are of course ways to return attachments from. the discard pile, although that would be, I think that would be Tau actually, we come to both. There's definitely some shenanigans that can be pulled off with that. Right, let's look at Tau. We get the Herald of the Tawa. It's a 2 cost, 1 hammer, 1/3 unit, and it's an ethereal, which is really good. Aren't you getting some boost here? Each elite unit you control at this point of the game is mobile. That's already pretty good. It's really good actually. And it's got a force reaction after a unit removes to its attack move to HQ, as obviously most ethereal cards do. Do that sort of bounce back to the HQ, which is pretty cool. I like this card. I think there's a good space for this card to go into many decks. Doesn't have to be an ethereal deck. And you certainly don't necessarily want to swing with this guy. You just want to bring it up to the planet and make sure that you give all your elite units mobile. They can move away before before the battle phase starts. We also get support card for Tau here. It's the what is this? Beleaguered Garrison. 1 cost location. Each card you control in the reserve is counted as a command icon and this planet when resolving command struggles. So just another stuff that's making Deep Strike work really nicely. I think Tau did have a few nice little Deep Strike cards in the previous Warpacks we've opened, so this is definitely going to be a good addition. But it can also go into Eldar, it can also go into Space Marines, so that's pretty cool. And then finally, for some Tyranid action, we got the Mucolid Spores, 3 cost army unit, 1 hammer, 0/2. It's got flying, it's got mobile, and it's got an interrupt. When this unit is destroyed, disrupt 2 target enemy support cards. So it's a really cool little, it's a really cool defensive removal of support cards. You obviously have to be clever with it, but considering that Tyranids can't obviously be ran with any faction, I think this is a good way to get rid of some nasty support cards that obviously are quite a thorn in the side of the Tyranids in certain cases. And we also get a Deep Strike event here, the Burst Forth. This is our last card for this Warpack. Deep Strike 0. With the reaction after you Deep Strike this event, commit either your Warlord or a Synapse unit you control to this planet. So that can be pretty cool. Obviously, you can play this event anytime you want. You can Deep Strike it anytime you want. Put it down to a particular planet and then Deep Strike it, obviously, there. And that, if you play it right, shall enable you to basically have a battle there. So you can technically have 3 battles in a turn with the Burst Forth. Obviously, you're going to generate one where your Warlord is, generate one where your Synapse is, I believe, and then one with Burst Forth, which can be pretty cool, actually. But this is it, guys. Really glad to see Zaras and the signature cards for this guy. Eldar cards never disappoint, as I say. I'm absolutely loving particularly the Shrieking Exarch. Just another very strong elite there to build around. And this is it. 24 minutes. Much better than the first time when we did like 40. Peace out, YouTube.